It's not just the fact that, we're going to list the house. Yeah. And like Teresa says, the purging. How many
Yo,
things I've thrown away that I'm just like, why don't I do this every year?
I
Then this
know
wouldn't be so difficult, right? Because the
it's
amount of
so
stuff you
true.
throw out is like insane.
You know what my problem is every time I move, I go into purge mode, right? I'm
Yeah.
gonna get rid of all, haven't
Mm-hmm.
looked at it in a year. That's it. I'm over it. I'm done. And no sooner, 6, 7 months later than I'm looking for that same item again. And I'm so mad at myself.
That you got rid of it. I've done that with clothes. It's like, oh, I haven't worn this in like however, I was gonna get rid of it. And then you're like getting ready when you're like, hey, where's that like little jacket that I used to have? And you're like, oh
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
I got
Yeah.
rid of it because I never wore it.
Like, same. And now I have to buy, I don't know. I feel like, honestly, I feel like all of us should have like those cleaning people that come in. And because when I go on a roll, I mean, I get rid of everything.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
and that's not always the best thing because then I end up having to rebuy it because
Yeah.
now this I do have a need 2 years
Yeah.
later or whatever.
Yeah. It's like it's
Right? Like
yeah.
I'm just like, okay, maybe I just need to give up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, anyhow, I mean, that's us, eh? But
it
yeah,
is. It
well, you
is.
know what? If you live closer, I would say let me know what I can do to help. But
I'm one of those people that I'm like, I'm really hard to help because I'm like, I like doing things on my own and it's that self accomplishment that I feel. So it's
right.
like everyone be like, I can help you. I'm like, well, I don't even know what you could really help with. And I feel guilty. And I also, I'm like one of those people that I'll like sit there and I'll be like, well, that's not how I would have done it, but okay. Right. So it's hard for me to let go.
Yeah,
I'm learning though. I'm learning to accept help. That's
I
one of
think
my
it's important.
downfalls. Yeah.
It's important, Crystal, because the bottom line is, because I moved 2 years ago, which was the first time in quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was like, oh my God, I make people do this every
Yeah.
day. Like
Yeah.
awful, awful.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, we've got people coming in.
Yeah.
Welcome, everybody.
Well,
Yeah. So I'll
perfect.
leave this in your capable hands.
Yeah.
We didn't really chat about what we were going to do today.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
This is
let's
it.
go.
What did she say? Tracy's saying, when my daughters moved to Vancouver, they called and asked me where I put stuff in a box. And I
Yeah.
knew where it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I find though too, you start off very organized, and then as it gets closer to, you just start saying screw it, and just like it's just going like let's just get this over with.
Yeah.
That's what I find for myself anyway. So, so now we're kind of rolling into this full springish market. How are you finding things there? I notice where I am, it's definitely picking up. Um, buyer confidence is slowly coming back.
Yeah.
Are you finding with your leads right now, or in general, that there is more confidence, they're more responsive to what you're doing? Like how are the conversations going when you're talking to them? Or like, I know that you have, different call methods and things like that, but are you finding that there's as many objections and things like that having to do with what we were seeing in the last year of interest rates and things like that? Are you finding that
Yeah.
that's kind of becoming less common, that people are accepting that, this is what it is? Or, what are you finding in general with your database, and what are you doing to leverage that?
I'm finding a lot of, and I've been saying this since about the third week of January. I'm really seeing a lot more productivity
Mm-hmm.
come out of the leads. And when I say productivity, I don't mean necessarily deals because the deals will always come. It's the communication. I was booked to show a property today from a lead that came on in January. I'm seeing a lot of agents busier. I think that's a good thing. What I feel it is, and I say this, and guys, if I'm boring you, I'm sorry, but I feel like now that we're getting well into the new year, everybody always was expecting a crash. Guess what? We were right as realtors. It isn't crashing. Prices are going up.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're like, holy frig, we gotta buy,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm seeing a lot. I'm busier. The agents that I've been coaching are getting busier. Agents that I talk to, because I talk to agents every single day. It's what I do.
Mm-hmm.
They're busier. So it's not just me. That tells me that once the interest rates start to come down, once that first announcement happens,
Mm-hmm.
I think if we weren't already busy, A, we're going to be busier,
Yeah.
and B, they're going to be busy
Yeah.
because it's an announcement and then everybody's going to come out.
Yeah. Yep.
So
That's the way
exactly. And it's just a matter of encouraging the conversations. That really is all it is about.
Mm-hmm. No, exactly. It's having the conversations and looking in your database. I know you did a little bit of a haul, and we talked about this I think last time, where you went in and you got everyone's searches back up and going, and to encourage them looking at the properties.
And guess what? I got more buyers out of it. It is painful. It is not fun. I got this much done because I have hundreds of pages of leads. Wait a minute, I might even have thousands. And I started right at the very back. And right now, I had people that have been on hold. They've been off and on for almost 6 years. Because I was like, let me go back into their search again. Let me do another tweak. Let me just reactivate so that it's not once a month anymore. That's the biggest thing right now. My biggest challenge is Google bouncing them to getting listings very little if they're not opening up every single email that we're sending them, right?
Yeah.
And guess what? I mean, I'm out probably 2 or 3 days a week with them now, because I went back in and I changed up their search and I put them on to get up to 3 times a day. And they sent me a text and went, okay, yeah, thanks, Sarah, let's go.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But it's painful to do.
It is. It is painful to go in there and do that.
But it's worth it.
It is. And you know what? Sometimes those older leads, and some of you may have been with us for it might be relatively new with us. Some of you could be like Tara, that have been with us for years. Some of you may have been, we have some people have been with us like right from the beginning. So they have, I'm working with one where he's got a ton of leads in his system that were previous signups. There's nothing ever being sent to them. He's like, can you help me target these people? So we put together some mass text, and it was really just, hey, it's me. It's been a while since we last connected, just curious, is it worthwhile having a chat about real estate anytime soon? Right. And the responses that you get from these people that haven't really gotten anything from him, other than maybe some of them get a newsletter monthly, was actually quite positive. People were actually thinking about making a move and willing to actually set up a conversation. So it's just digging and doing mass actions and trying to find who those people are that you should be targeting in the database. Right?
What did it cost you and him, because you were helping him with it? So let's just say, what did it cost him? It cost him nothing to ask for advice, right? Give me some ideas. B, sent out a text that simply says, if you got any questions, I'm here to answer them.
Yeah.
If you come to your leads out of a place of contribution, not salesman, right? It was nothing to do that. And if they say no, what's wrong with that?
Nothing. There is nothing wrong with it. At least they responded. They're not in the move, or like,
And it doesn't mean no, I'm not going to move. It means no, I'm not ready yet. You know what? That's cool. But at least they now will remember your name a little bit more. I look at it this way. You have got nothing to lose by trying every way possible to get them to communicate with you, but you have everything to gain. Everything. Because remember, I always say this, everybody, it's not just about the people that are registered as a lead that have come in. You make an impact on them and they will tell their friends and family about you. It's happened to me over and over. The approach that you take, that soft, hey, I'm here, whether it's a call, a text, an email, whether it's all of them, makes a huge difference in these people.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right?
And sometimes when you're doing those things, especially I find with older ladies, and you might find this as well, they're actually more open to communication because they haven't been doing all this, been bombarded or solicited or whatever. It's just very random, or you're calling them. They're actually willing to have conversations with you and talk to you about what their plans might be, even if it's a 5-year plan, right? Like, oh, well, the kids just started university, so we're going to stay here because it's close by, whatever it is, right? We want to move. It's just right now is not the time to do that, right? So it's having those conversations and really just knowing that information as well, so that you know how to follow up with them or what you could be offering to them in the meantime, right? So
I look at it that way. I go, every piece of information that I get from a lead, whether or not it's their projected time is 5 years, 6 months, whatever, I'm building my database. I'm continuing to brand Tara Baylis, the realtor. I'm making a difference without pressuring them and without basically telling them, if you're not ready to buy right now, then you know what, I'm deleting you. You know, you have so much potential business sitting in your database just by alone the people that these leads know. And what you do will make or break any referrals or any deals that you'll get, which is why I really encourage people to figure out what the soft approach is, what that happy medium is. And this text that you did with that realtor, like, guys, that's gold. Those are the types of emails that I have in my email drip campaign. You know, a little bit of knowledge, you're just giving them a little bit, but you're letting them know that you're simply here to help. And that makes the world of difference.
And be okay to hear the no. No, I'm not ready. They're not garbage. They're just, no, they're not ready, right? They're not ready.
Crystal, no, I already bought. I have agents coming to me going, oh my God, I lost it. I didn't do it right. You know, whatever. And I'm like, you lost nothing. If anything, the lead came on, first of all, they could have already had a realtor, right? As much as I believe all of my leads are my clients, I'm like, oh yeah, they're all going to work with me. Of course, I know that that's not what's going to happen. But all of these people, if they say they've already bought, I look at that as amazing, because that tells me that when they came on and registered, whatever, maybe they were already working with an agent, I don't know, but they were serious about buying. Like, I'm like, okay, well, see,
there's good leads in here. There's people who are actually doing something.
Are good. They're not crap. So if you bought, that's just validation that everything that I'm doing to try to get you in the car is exactly on point. You I didn't get, but I'm not going to beat myself up over it.
No.
Right?
No. And sometimes you can use it as motivation, right? Because if you look at that lead and you're like, oh, I never actually did try reaching out to this person, or you know, whatever it is, and then you finally do, and then they already bought, you can say, okay, well, I guess in this case, I didn't do everything I could have in this scenario. So of course they went with somebody else, right? Or you can't win them all, right? You can't win them all, because sometimes you will be doing all those things and then finally get them on the phone and, you know, we already bought something, or we're working with somebody. You can't win them all, but you can say, hey, you know what? I did everything I could. Fine. Move on and take on the next one, right? So
I think you're right. And let's stress that. If you did lose somebody, always do that self-check first. Always say to yourself, could I have maybe done a little bit more?
Yeah.
Right? I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because if your leads, if your the way you run your leads is they come in the dashboard and you really don't do anything after that, right? If you don't look at them, if that's your gig and you lose them, now say to yourself, what if I were to change this and this?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then see what happens. I always do self checks. The one thing is, when it comes to my leads, usually if I've lost them, I know that I have done everything humanly possible to do them, because it's such a big pillar of my business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. It's yeah. And you know what I find too is, even if somebody's purchased something, be excited for them. No, that's awesome. A lot of you guys have access to sold listings, set them up to receive. Would it be of any interest to you to receive sold listings in your neighborhood so you can see what's happening in the market that's going to affect the value of your new home?
That's
They're
great.
going to move again, right? So now
That's
you've
great.
got them, you're now nurturing them for potentially next time around, or they're going to share that. You get a lead, a free lead, because
Right.
they share some information with somebody else. You guys can tell these leads in your system. So if you guys are running lead generation, generally speaking, you're always going to see the referring source. It's going to say Google, 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 Google. If you see something that's your lead gen site and somebody registered, there's no referring aspect on there, that's likely one of your leads sharing a listing with somebody else and they registered on your
Oh,
website.
okay. Good to know.
Yeah. So it's and it could be somebody that's related. It could be because they're looking for a friend or, things like that.
Right.
But you can see that. So sometimes, you're getting free leads from these leads when they're sharing the properties that you're sending them. So
Right.
mhm.
We'll take free leads anytime we could get, Crystal.
Right. Why
But that's
not?
an interesting thing. So the lead comes in, there's no referral source. Still work them like you would your other leads. Still
Yeah.
set them up to get
So,
listings, put them on
mhm.
your drip,
Yep.
offer your help. Um, again, I think too, where a lot of people, they look at the CRM and it's really easy to get overwhelmed. But
Mhm.
I'm all about continuing to build that CRM,
Yeah.
right? As much as we're all buying the pay-per-click leads through Agent Locator. Who else can I add on there,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Who else can get the same drip campaign? So I think it's always good too to continue to grow that database, because you have the ability to have all of the drip campaigns and all of the buyer packages and seller packages and so forth that's being created by Agent Locator. There's so much.
Mhm.
My open house people, I throw them on.
Yeah. Yep.
I want to build it so that
Mhm.
now I've got everything at my fingertips
Mhm.
to work that person.
Yep. And they're all in one hub, right? It's not like you're jumping from this system to this system, this system all over to try to manage your entire business. It's
Right.
all collective in one place. So you can see everything that's going on.
Yep.
And really it comes down to, I know you're organized in your system and you have your daily habits and routines. And that's really what a lot of the success comes down to. It's really having structure to what you're doing and some sort of system in place. Otherwise, you do sit there and you'll open up your CRM and you're like, I don't even know where to begin with this, because I kind of just been working in my business too long, but instead of on my business. So we
Yeah.
fall behind, right? So
Yeah.
if there is, you find greater success when there's more strategy to what you're doing or a systematic approach to what you're doing. And then it also ensures that no one's slipping through those cracks. So you're getting less of the, oh, we already purchased something, right? Because
Right.
you just have a
Right.
routine that you've created, right?
Yeah.
But
It's
yeah.
like anything else, right?
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you, I've talked to recently a few agents that um are from a lead-based brokerage. Nothing wrong with that. But I'm noticing that, it's easy to become very overwhelmed because there
Mm-hmm.
is constant people coming in. And some of them will say, well, the leads are no good or this or that. And my question back to them is this. Our online leads are one pillar of our business, right? So when it comes to time blocking, you have to work that pillar, and you have to work it just like you have to show up if you're working at Costco for your shift
Yeah.
at Costco.
Mm-hmm.
You have to show up. You have to continue as well to have those other legs of your chair, your other pillars. We sometimes can be so focused on working the leads, which we want to do, but we also forget about the other parts of our
Yeah.
business. What are we doing for our past clients? What are we doing for our sphere of influence? What are we doing for our networking pillar, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the time blocking is huge. I cannot stress enough, because at the end of the day, even if you spend an hour a day just checking on your leads, you've worked it. Now you can bounce to pillar number 2, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Now you can show houses. But you really, really have to. I wouldn't ever have been as successful as I am in lead conversion had I not have known I'm responsible to work all of the pillars of my business. Nobody's going to throw deals at me. It is up to me and me only. And number 2, everybody, I say this all the time. We're paying money for this. I don't want to lose anybody because I just bought it and left it. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
We're the CEOs of our own business. We have to have a return on investment, which means that we have to create a way to get that return, which means opening up the CRM. Crystal, I don't do automatic.
Yeah.
I really, when a lead comes in, it would be easy for me to have the automatic assignment for the drip that I've written. But I don't. I still don't. And I get a lot of leads. I still go into each and every lead. I look and see what they've looked at. I really engage myself visually with Bob the lead, Sue the lead. And then I retweak how they get listings. I like to retweak it. I like to have my own hands on it rather than the agent locator rate one that happens right away. And I add the drip. And then I decide when I'm going to make the phone call based on their activity, right? So for me, that makes my system even more real to me, because when I see them come on, the notifications, because I've taken the time to go into them. Oh, okay. All right. And I feel like I'm invested more than just seeing them come across my phone and saying, okay, well, at least agent locators set them up for me and they've put them on the drip.
Yeah. You can turn it into like a little game. Make it, however, whatever works. Like, everyone works their systems differently, and it really comes down to what's the most effective for yourself in the way that you tend to do business or are just as a person in general.
Right.
And so you're more hands-on, you look, you connect, what have you. So when the names do pop in, you know exactly, oh yeah, I just did it, right? So you start to see, and you're gaining that familiarity. I always advise people, unless there's someone like you that goes in and actions those notifications every day, not to turn those on, because you just get over inundated, right, with notifications. And then there could be the ones that are a little bit higher importance that you just start to overlook everything because you thought it was a good idea. You thought it was a good idea, and then you realize I'm not as hands-on as I thought I could be, right? So it's better in some of those cases too.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I would really caution. I know what it's like to get what seems like hundreds of email notifications every day. But when I talk about lead conversion and when I've coached agents to become better at it, your mindset is number 1. It's just as important as the calls you make, the drip campaign. And I very quickly trained my mindset to be in sync with the email notifications.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of me feeling overwhelmed, it causes me excitement.
Okay.
Because I know that those leads have logged back in
Yeah.
and are looking and they're seeing my name. So I've really worked hard to go, okay, even though there's hundreds of thousands of emails in my Gmail right now, you
Mm-hmm.
know, it's still business for Tara.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that will always excite me. So, you know, for those that have the notifications turned off, all I ask is that you think a little bit like I am, right? How do you know how busy your site is, which can cause you such great satisfaction if you're not getting the notifications,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
right? So think about it. You know, you can always switch them back off if it really
Yeah.
isn't your gig, but it's those notifications that also tells me if lead so-and-so is getting a little bit more quicker to buy. My son
Mm-hmm.
and I just had this conversation because one of his leads is coming on more and more and more and more and more and more, right?
Yeah.
And they started very little and now they're graduating. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
and I'm telling you, Austin, buddy's ready to make a move. Now
Yeah.
we gotta reel him in. We gotta, okay, what's our approach, right? Because he's getting
Yes.
the stuff. But that is such a key indicator for us
Mm-hmm. Is
is something's
watching.
going on here, something.
Yeah.
And what
Yep.
am I going to do to try to get them to communicate a little more?
Mm-hmm. No, and that's good. Yeah. Like I said, is as long as you're taking those emails and you're watching those notifications and you're paying attention to each of those and who they are, that
Yeah.
way when they're coming in, it's like you're remembering who each one of these people are and the frequency of how often they're coming back.
And you will.
Right?
You will. You will remember. You know,
Mhm.
it's like it's visual, right?
Yes.
The
Yep.
more you see something, the more you're like, oh, I know so and so. And the bottom line is, even if you don't remember, when you get the notification, you click on it, you go right into their dashboard.
Mhm.
Oh, so and so, right? Even the notifications will even tell you when you scroll down some of the conversations you've had with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? But it's a part of my conversion that I relay very heavy on. And sometimes I rely on it just so that I can get myself in the right mindset. Because we all do still have our own pity parties.
Oh yeah.
And there are some times when I'm like, oh, nobody wants to use Tara. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Sorry, my phone rang. You know, and I feel sorry for myself. I'll open up my Gmail and I'll be like, oh, hello, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, right? Really can work good for the head.
Yes. Yes. It can be exciting, that's for sure, when you're watching momentums and it also gives you things to do as well. When you're kind of sitting there wondering, what can I do? You can look at those as a place to start as well. It's okay, I'm going to start with these people because I know that they've been active.
Well, you know, that's what one of my team agents did. I just started training her to really watch those notifications, and she happened to notice somebody coming on a little bit more than usual. She also noticed that they liked a property 3 times. And, you know, I've got an email that goes out to them when they like a property. She sent the email, but she also gave Buddy a call. 2 days later, she sold him a house in Peterborough. 2 days later. Wow. 2 days later. Right? You know, like that wouldn't have happened had she not have been watching the notifications. Yeah. Right? And here's the interesting thing, guys, and for anybody that's watched me for, I think we're 3 years now doing this, I feel like.
It's been a while anyway.
Yeah, like remember, if they're on our site, they're on other realtor sites. So the way that we approach our leads has to be very quickly, let's be real, very, very quickly. And it has to be in a way that they're going to want to use us and not agent B, C, D, E, F, G. Because they're getting listings from everybody, right? And that's the biggest thing, which is why I think when we're investing in the leads, having the notifications can really make us one step ahead. rather than having to open up the app or open up your desktop and do it.
See all those. Yeah, no, absolutely. Just looking at the comment here, I know Sherry mentioned in the chat here when we were talking about older leads, she pulled up an old page of leads and just got communication going with 2 of the 5 I called. They were happy to engage. Right. So that kind of goes back into the older leads are a little bit more willing to have conversations with us. And sometimes they're workable, right? They're more workable. Or you look at them and you say, okay, well, these guys registered like last year or the year before. And keeping into that mentality that most of these people that are coming into your site aren't buying right away. They're very initial, preliminary, oh, maybe we should move, right? Or I wonder what the market looks like. So the older the leads are, the actual, in many cases, the closer they are to actually being, to that transaction phase where they're now going to start actively looking at real estate as well. They're little golden nuggets in there.
And remember too, the older the lead is, the longer and the more time they've had with your name in their inbox. Because even if they weren't opening the emails every day and Google has made them to, let's say, once every 30 days, that's still, a year or 2 years of seeing Sherry's name in their inbox. When you reestablish that relationship with them, they actually feel like they already know you.
Yeah.
Like to me,
they already know who it is.
So warm. It's such a, hey, I just want to thank you for coming on. It's been a while. Is there anything I can help you with? You know, and that's where I think a lot of people really don't understand. And I know that I probably preach the same thing a lot of times, but honestly, throughout my almost 19 years of lead conversion, Google lead conversion, I cannot stress enough that with my name going in their inbox and then me establishing my voice to them whenever it is that you're going to make a call, when I've waited a little longer and done it at maybe the 30-day or the 45-day mark, or maybe you never actually do get them on the phone. When you do, they feel like you're their best friend. Oh, Tara. Oh, yeah. Right? Because you become very familiar to them. So whether or not you actually reach them on the phone, I don't want people stressing over that. As long as they're getting listings from you, as long as you have a drip campaign that softly touches them, isn't hard sales, but just being there, those people have already established a relationship with you that you're not even aware of yet. Dozens of my deals from people that have been on my system 2 years and plus, right, before they've done a deal with me. All of them have said the same thing. I always knew I was going to use you, Tara. Always knew, right? And some of them did have conversations with me and some of them didn't. They weren't on my radar. So the impact of our inbox, is so huge. And I don't want anybody to lose faith in that. No. Because they haven't answered your phone call. Right?
No, sometimes it's, you keep the average realtor will actually give up 2 to 4 attempts. Right. So to be better than the average realtor is really not that hard. It's really not that hard.
Right.
Because a lot of us, again, they're looking, people look for that instant gratification from what we're doing, putting all this work in, I should be getting it back right away. When that's not the case, it's being, calm and patient with the process, get involved with the process of it. You'll find yourself a lot happier in that system. But I forget where I was going with this. But yeah, it's just continuously working that database. And like, as you said, you've got nothing to lose when you're working these leads. And if we keep up with that communication, again, even if you call your leads or schedule yourself those follow-ups when you say you're going to call and you're using the system to make sure that you're doing that, that's where you're going to start to see everything kind of pull together, because you are working your leads. You're not giving up because they didn't answer for any emails on your first drip, or they haven't answered calls that you've made. You just keep going, because guess what? Every other agent's already given up.
You
right?
know, there's a very interesting point. About 2 years ago, I met one of my, oh, are you there?
Oh,
Oh, I'll keep
yep.
talking.
Oh, there we go. Sorry. I don't know what happened.
Woo, woo. I met one of my buyers. She'd been on my system for over 3 years.
Hmm.
And she would answer, she would communicate off and on, not a
Hmm.
lot, but periodically. And I kind of have like a whiteboard in my office where I've got, when it comes to buyers and my leads, like the people that are on my radar. But anyway, she wasn't. She did reply periodically, but not a lot. Anyhow, she wanted to see a property. And of course, I'm like, oh my gosh, right? I always make a big deal when they've been on my system for a long time. And I always say, I'm so excited to finally be able to meet you, right? So we were standing in the driveway. I met her and her boyfriend. And she goes, I bet you thought I would never buy a house, right? And I said to her, no, actually, it's the opposite. And I think her name was Allison. And I'm like, Allison, you have to understand. I understand that everybody has their own time. I'm just so thankful that you thought of me. And this is what she said to me, and I will never forget this. She said, Tara, full disclosure, I had about 3 or 4 other agents sending me listings. And she goes, and they kept calling and calling and calling me. And she goes, one day I received 5 calls because I wasn't answering the phone. I was working from one of those realtors. She said, then when I did answer the phone, 3 of them I said to, I'm not ready yet. I might not be ready for another 2 years.
Hmm.
And she goes, 24 hours later, out of all 3 of them, I received no more listings. They deleted me.
Hmm.
And she goes, and let me tell you, Tara, I get listings from you up to 3 times a day. She goes, I was getting them from them up to 3 times a day. She goes, but because I said, I'm not going to be ready for at least 2 years, she goes, I'm out.
Yeah.
And she goes, you always sent me listings. She goes, you tried to call me. She goes, sometimes I didn't call you back, but you always sent me those nice emails. And I said to my boyfriend, that's the one I'm going to use. And that is a huge lesson. It's a
Hmm.
huge lesson. Every lead has their own time. It's not up to
Yep.
us, it's up to them. B, why would you delete somebody? Because
Yeah.
they're not going to be ready for a couple of years?
Yeah.
Well, does that tells me in 2 years, do you not want commission from that person?
Yeah.
And who are you? Who are you to determine when that person is going to buy?
Yeah.
She sent me referrals as
Yeah.
well,
Hmm.
right? So I'm very, very, very non-pressure. Of course, I want the business now. We
Hmm.
all need to pay our bills.
Yeah.
But if one lead isn't going to be ready for 2 years, there's going to be 3 more leads that might be ready within 3 months.
Yeah.
I never lose sight of that. That's where, my dear friends,
Hmm.
for me, it's always about mindset and working my leads,
Hmm.
right? It's
Yep.
like this.
And so it's building those pipelines, right? And I've seen it in systems. I'd be like, why did we, like, I'll see a lot of people that have been archived, good leads, good information, and then I'm going through it because they didn't answer after so many call attempts, or yeah, they were just browsing for now, not doing anything, and they stopped their search. I'm like, why did you stop their searches? Like,
I can't right now, Crystal.
it's like is this an
I
exclusive
can't.
buyers club where like people are paying to come use
Yeah.
you? Like it's sometimes, again, it comes down to the mentality of these people. But I've always said it, every single lead, Tara, in your CRM is going to transact. Every single one of them, even the fake ones, there are people
100%.
behind there. They're all going to transact. It's just a matter of when they're going to transact
Thank
and with
you.
who they decide to go with, right?
Thank
So if
you.
we can take, even 25% of them and get them to use us, even if it's over a course of 5 to 10 years, we want that commission, right? Is it worth the effort of keeping
Yes.
them and nurturing them over that time frame to
Right.
make, $500,000, $1 million off of all these people, right?
Right.
It's
Exactly.
there.
And you've known me long enough since the day I joined in 2016, Agent Locator.
Hmm.
That's exactly the mindset that I have. I've already bought the lead. I'm not deleting unless they've specifically said, delete me, Tara. And even then, I struggle. I struggle.
I
I'm not
put
gonna
it
lie
in
to you.
their hands. I just say, oh,
Yeah,
but I'm not at my desk. There's at the bottom of the email, there's an
I know. I
unsubscribe
used to run
option.
but I'm perfectly happy to wait it out because
Hmm.
I've noticed and I watch my stats very closely. Sometimes I'll go through periods where my leads might be a little bit more ready to get in the car from the 6 month to a year period. And then all of a sudden, it's like a full moon came out. And now I've got 3 or 4 leads that as soon as they enter my site, they're booking showings,
Yeah.
right? Like there's no rhyme or reason, which is why over my years, I've been able to understand how important my mindset is.
Hmm.
You know, if they're not ready for 2 years, I'm okay to be the one, hopefully, that they think of in 2 years when they are ready. If
Hmm.
I delete them, I can guarantee everybody this. They're
Yeah.
not going to
Yeah.
think of me at all when they're ready.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've now paid and got zero return on my investment,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So that's why I'm always about staying in for the long haul. And
Yeah.
it's ridiculous to me. The oldest lead I've had has been 10 years on my system.
Okay.
10 years. And they were ready to rock and roll. And in 2 years, I got 5 deals out of them between what they sold, what they bought with me, resold, and the referrals they gave me.
Hmm.
I look at it like a really good paycheck.
Yeah.
I had to wait
Yeah.
it. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. It doesn't hurt us to keep people in our system. That's why I don't get why people remove them in the first place. I'm like, it's not doing, you're not having to physically do something for this person every single day. The system's taking care of it. They're just sitting in there,
Right.
right?
Right.
Don't delete them. They will do something at some point or become active again or send a listing or refer someone, right? These
Yes.
people will move. They will move eventually, right?
They
And so
will.
that's using your systems and using your filters and tags and whatever it is to keep you on track of these people when you should be checking in or following up with them again.
Mhm.
The drip that Tara has is, that she uses to nurture. You guys could also create those for people that, hey, this is my tier 1 lead, this is a tier 2, this is a tier 3. These emails are going to go a little bit differently or like less often because I know they're like 2 or more years out at least, right? And then these ones are maybe like I know they have intentions sometime this year. They're just getting all those ducks in a row. So this one's going to be a little bit more catered to that,
Right.
right? So you can play around with how you're communicating, having the system help you with those connections
Yep.
rather than having to feel like you're doing it all on your own. You just have to spend the time to build out those systems for yourself that, the time in the front, it's front loaded as far as time goes. And then it just makes it easier on the end load
Yeah.
of it when we're looking to follow up with those individuals. But
Yeah.
yeah.
And now if anybody on here has had leads sitting for the last couple of years on their dashboard, the one thing you want to remember, and it is painful to do, as we were talking about earlier, is you really do need to go back into their saved listing searches. And you really need to see the price range that you've got them set for, because remember, our
Mm-hmm.
prices change every year.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody, for instance, people for me, because I've got such a big CRM now, if they've been on my system for 5 years and still haven't bought, well, their price range might be 600 and under. Well, guess
Yeah.
what? You can't get nothing for 600 anymore,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So,
It's not
so
gonna happen.
even though I don't know officially what they're qualified for, or even if they are, I'm gonna spread that out. I'm going to be
Mm-hmm.
reflective of what my current price ranges are in the areas where my
Mm-hmm.
leads are buying,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And that does everything to now get them back to get listings again.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you, that's a full-time job in itself.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right? But
It
it's
can be.
really important to do, because if they're set on a small budget, because maybe they came in and looked at something for 450,000, right?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
that was 5 years ago. Even if you try to reactivate them, they're not going to
There's no
get sent.
listings. Yeah, there's no listings
So
there, right?
it's
So
a
you got to
really
bump it
huge
up.
tip, everybody. Go back in and just spread out those searches so that they actually get your name via listings every day. Remember, when they come on these sites, don't ever forget what they really want from us is listings. That's all
Yeah.
they really want. All the other touches we do is to get them in the car, to get them to
Yeah.
trust. But
Yep.
number one is the listings.
Mhm.
So if you've got those back pages, I really do beg you, go back in and
Go take
retweet.
them. Go
Yeah,
do them. And if there's a lot of them, again, you guys, there's different creative ways you can also send, a mass text out to a bunch of those people and start with the ones that respond to you first, right? Because those are the ones that, okay, well, they're
sure.
responsive and to some
Yeah,
capacity, I'm gonna go do this instead, right? So different ways that you can do it to see where it depends on how many leads you have in your system, of course. But it's really about building your pipeline, right? And a lot of us are always focused on today's pipeline of who's moving right now. We have to think of, we want to be the roller coaster we don't want, right? We want our business kind of going. There's going to be little dips and peaks, of course, but for the most part, we don't want to go from being super busy to completely dry, to super busy to completely dry. We want to just smooth sailing. So that's where if we're
sure.
working our system, we're getting those older leads going. They're already in there. You've already paid for them, right? It's not
Yep.
new money spent. This is old money spent. Just time now you're spending to make sure that they're current with the market
Right.
and the listings and getting things.
I was sitting and my mouse, I think my battery ran out of my mouse, so I can't see the
Oh,
chat.
oh,
But I was sitting with, well, I'm just going to name her Tracy. Tracy and I were sitting. She was like, Tara, I got all these leads. Where can we can I get your brain and can we together come up with what else can I send them that's going to get them to kind of reply a little bit? And there's like a ton of really old stuff in there too. And that's where the reason I'm telling this story is two heads are always better than one.
mm-hmm.
Right? So we're kind of going through all the pages on her CRM and she's kind of updating me on this one and some conversations.
Mm-hmm.
We can't talk about all the hundreds, but I'm going through there and I'm like, well, there's a lot of activity. There's a lot of activity, but we just need one more person in the car. Like we just need that one person to respond to something that will get a referral for her
Mm-hmm.
or get them in the car. And that's where, and the reason I'm saying this is, sitting with somebody and kind of brainstorming, what can we come up with that will encourage them to, even at the very minimum, refer somebody to us?
Mm-hmm.
And between her and I, we came up with some ideas. We're still working on it. I was actually working on it yesterday again, Tracy, of this specific this specific email that we can send out that maybe she could follow up with a call that now, instead of asking for their business,
Mm-hmm.
we're saying, who do you know?
Yeah.
And what value, that value proposition, my friends, that
Mm-hmm.
we can bring to her leads, that they'll be like, holy crap, I gotta tell Bob about this that I just got from this realtor.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, don't be afraid to share your ideas. I cannot stress enough, it's not just about these people registered. There's a way that we can actually, if we get a little creative, maybe it's a
Yeah.
video, who knows?
Yes.
Because who do you know?
Exactly. And it's all about a lot of these people and who they know, right? It's like, oh, that person's at a price point that I wouldn't, even touch. It's like, but you don't, like, you have no idea who these people know. Like the opportunity that can sometimes fit with somebody that's just looking for a lease,
Right.
right? How do
Right.
you know how, maybe somebody's funding that lease that has, a little bit more money than that person that, you can get the referral from, right?
Yeah.
You don't know who these people are connected with. Just because they're doing something doesn't mean that they don't know other people that could be very beneficial to your business.
Exactly. Exactly. Do
Mm-hmm.
we have any
Mm-hmm.
other questions or thoughts? Because I can't see.
No, there's no more questions. If you guys do have any questions, then you guys can definitely ask them in here. Any comments
Yeah.
on the topic about, if you guys are doing anything in your database right now with existing leads that are in there, or if you're doing any cleanup or things that you've attempted that seem to be working, whether it's mass actions or drip campaigns or whatever it might be. Yeah,
That's
I
good.
think.
I mean, we have Easter coming up. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you know, well, I guess I shouldn't say this off. I'm assuming most religions acknowledge it. Don't be afraid on certain times of the year to send out those just nice, hey,
Little, yeah.
happy, whatever. Maybe it's Thanksgiving, maybe it's Canada Day. There's
Mm-hmm.
lots of little bits that you can take part in to kind of
Mm-hmm.
just do that added little maybe non-realtor touch,
Yes. Yeah.
which just solidifies to them you're a realtor, but you're also actually a real person too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Some
Absolutely.
of my best responses I've ever gotten from my emails has been from those non-real estate related
Yeah.
touches that I've done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They can
Oh,
definitely. You guys can build that out with a campaign as well.
yeah.
Like if you don't want to have to remember to do it every time, or it comes and you're like, oh shoot, I should have like done this. You can create a campaign that's based on date. It's like a fixed date campaign. So you're just building it out, whether it's for the next 2, 3, 5 years. You're just putting in the exact dates of each of those events, or holidays, and you can touch on like all the holidays if you really wanted to, and then you just set it. You can have it so it just automatically assigns to every lead that comes into your system. Then you don't have
I
to think
like
about
that.
it.
I like
Mm-hmm.
that. So when you create that drip, then you would do an auto assign, right?
Yeah, you would
For
do an
it.
auto assign, and then you could
Right.
just do it on, like, there's no rule. It's just anyone that comes in the system.
No, would automatically get it. I like
They
that
would get it.
because the truth is, I think what a lot of our challenges are is once we really get busy showing houses and running with buyers, it's that behind the scenes work that can get a little bit challenging.
Yeah.
But if you just take a couple of hours and just set those touches up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then it's
Mm-hmm.
done.
Yep.
Right. And that's the beautiful thing about this system is we can automatic do a lot
Mm-hmm.
of that stuff for us.
Yep.
But those touches can really speak volumes to the people,
Mm-hmm.
our
Yeah,
lead.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then you do also have, so if you start working with somebody or you're importing, existing contacts in there, you have the birthday field. So you can put their birth date in there. You can have it so that every day on their birthday, you're sending them an email. The system will automatically do that for you. The same with a purchase anniversary date. So if you put that in there, you can say like happy home anniversary, a little email that just
Nice.
automatically goes out. You don't have to think about
Yeah,
it, right? You just
that's
know it's
nice.
already preset. It's just, but it becomes part of like your routine and your habits and what you're doing, for your business, really.
Wow.
But,
Wow. Well, I have faith that
yep.
everybody here today is going to sell a house this week with one of our leads. I
Yes.
know it. I know it. I can feel it. I'm putting all that out there.
Yeah.
Hopefully everybody has a good long weekend. I know I'm working, I'm sure. I mean, do we ever get days off? But, I really appreciate everybody's support and being
Yeah.
with us every time we do this, Crystal. There's a lot of
Absolutely.
great information.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. There's, we're all in this crazy thing called real estate, right? Just different sides of the different
Yep.
perspectives, different roles in the industry. That's all.
And you know what, to the agents that are still with us, last month when I did it, I did have a few agents call me after, just to run through stuff with me, toss around ideas. I want everybody to know that I'm here. You can send me an email, you can do all of that. I'm here to help everybody get their business and their leads going. Okay.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. It's always a pleasure having everyone on here. Everyone's going to have a great Easter weekend, whether you celebrate it or not.
Yep.
Take advantage of the extra day. Well,
yeah.
maybe you'll be working. You'll be working.
Laundry as well.
I know, right? An extra day for chores, yay!
Yeah.
But hopefully the weather is nice.
I will put a little vibe out there. This crazy thing called lead gen is probably going to be opening back up again.
Oh, nice.
And accepting some clients. So we're kind of working. I've got an amazing coach. She's been on here with me. That's all I'm going to say. But behind the scenes, we're kind of recreating again to try to make sure that we're really giving everybody what they need. So keep it up.
Awesome.
Keep
That's
it up.
great. That is so great. Perfect. Well, thanks, everyone. We'll see y'all in a month.
Bye. Thank you for coming.